Another challenge to settle Australia's 12,000 new refugees fleeing the war-torn Middle East. But how do we find homes and jobs for everyone, especially when just one suburb is taking half of them?
Fairfield's already filled up everything.
We've rolled out the welcome mat for refugees, but where are they all living?
There's no problem on bringing the refugees, but not to put them in one small section.
What jobs are they doing?
I'm trying to find job, but,
And why are local councils complaining?
If we don't know who's coming into our local area, then how can we provide the services?
Tonight, we meet the Syrian refugees who've arrived.
Being in a peaceful country, this is the best thing, really.
Expose some of the myths about their entitlements.
Refugees, when they arrive, do not receive public housing.
And discover why one suburban location is home to half of the entire intake.
And I think when local councils and communities are saying, we need these things, then the government must listen.
They call this suburb Little Baghdad because of how many people from Iraq already call it home. But it's also been named as the #1 destination for Syrian refugees as well. And the local council says it needs help.
This area has been housing refugees for years, like the cabaret singer from Iraq, who now goes by the name George Michael.
Australia, for me, is the best country in the world. Because what you want, you can have it here,
George says he's known around the world for his music, but made a living in Australia working in factories and on construction sites.
You can't just rely on a prompt office. You have to find the right job for you to work,
And here in the Sydney suburb of Fairfield, he's well known within the Iraqi-born community.
Yeah, but thank you.
Last year, Fairfield welcomed 4,700 refugees, the majority of them from Syria and Iraq. The next highest intake was Hume in Melbourne's outer suburbs, with 2,300. Brisbane's highest refugee intake was in Logan, with 926. Odysseus Haroum is an Iraqi refugee himself, but believes Fairfield can't handle this influx.
I'm not talking that I don't want them here, but for their future, I don't recommend that for them.
He started his own business running a coffee shop, but is now planning to leave the city for a quieter life in regional Australia.
Sydney, in general, it's a wrong area for them, especially if you're trying to build your life. So coming from zero, and you want to be a hero, Sydney's the wrong area.
Bianca McHale is feeling the crush in Fairfield, with dozens of people all chasing the same rental property, driving prices up 20%.
It is a good thing for them to come and to be able to have that life that we have, but from the other side, we're getting pushed.
It's a common theme throughout the area.
Actually, in Fairfield, it's too crowded.
But the new arrivals keep coming.
Hello.
Marhaba.
Rami Daniel is paying a visit to his cousin Hermes and uncle Ramon, who arrived 4 months ago after 4 years living as refugees in Lebanon.
What's that 4 years like of waiting and wondering what's going to happen?
It was hard, just waiting.
Ramon was a real estate agent in Syria, Hermes a pastry chef, and now they're both looking for work.
I'm trying to find job, but, it's hard a little bit.
The latest unemployment statistics reveal migrants from the Middle East and North Africa have a 33% jobless rate during their first 5 years in Australia. The next highest is Northeast Asia at 13%, while Southern and Eastern Europe is 11%.
The most important thing is learning English, followed by education.
I think we all need to share the arrivals rather than having a pocket of people.
Stephen Barley is the mayor of Blacktown, another region that resettles a large number of refugees. He believes more funding is required to make the process smoother, as well as more information about who is coming.
Councils would feel a lot more comfortable if they knew there was support mechanisms to help people to move into the area and more importantly, knowing exactly where they're moving into the area.
The federal government has increased resources into areas such as Fairfield in acknowledgement that there's been high numbers go in.
Violet Remuliotis is the CEO of Settlement Services International, an organisation tasked with settling refugees into their new home. She's keen to bust some of the myths about the government benefits provided.
Refugees, when they arrive, do not receive public housing. They don't receive a car. They certainly don't receive income support any more than any other Australian would.
The new arrivals her agency has helped settle into Fairfield are all moving into private rentals, which is pushing the prices ever higher.
Many of the new refugees who arrive are highly enterprising. Many of them have run businesses in their countries.
The makeup of our refugee intake is changing due to the Turnbull government's focus on prioritising persecuted minorities like Christians. The total number of Christian refugees accepted has jumped from 4,900 2 years ago to 15,200 last year. In the same period, Muslim refugees increased from 3,500 to 5,300.
One of the key things that refugee communities need is often psychological and trauma support. We have fantastic services that do that. There's a very good one based in Fairfield.
Tim O'Connor from the Refugee Council of Australia believes many will eventually be drawn away by better opportunities in regional Australia. The farming community of Nil in Western Victoria is now home to 160 refugees from Myanmar who were attracted by jobs at a poultry farm but have injected $40 million into the local economy.
Here was a community that was on its knees. It had very few people in school, there wasn't much economic activity, and a refugee community came in. They were welcomed by the locals, they were given the supports to be able to get up off their feet, and now that community is economically thriving.
At an Australia Day barbecue, we meet Syrian refugees who've already decided a crowded city isn't the place for them.
Happy Australia Day.
Thank you, you too.
Happy Australia Day.
Thank you, same to you.
Gemma and Munir arrived with baby Joey a few months ago and quickly left Fairfield for the cheaper rent on offer near Campbelltown. They also wanted to get away from the security blanket of an Arabic-speaking community.
We want to learn more English and we want to learn quicker.
Their friends, the Asbati family, already made the move from Aleppo to Sydney 2 years ago and know how hard it is to rebuild shattered lives in a new country.
In order to rent a house, you have to have a rental history, and you can't have a rental history if no one rents your house from the beginning.
Clara Asbati was a trained dental technician in Syria, but her degree isn't recognised in Australia, so she has to head back to uni for 3 more years. Not that she's complaining.
This is a very big opportunity that was given to us, and it was just a blessing from God.
Her brother Habib is working full-time in a bakery and drives for Uber on weekends.
What's it like driving Uber?
Yeah, it's good. In a spare time, not like full time, like just because working full time and doing Uber, that's too much.
Their mum Galia was an accountant in Aleppo, but has just landed her first internship in administration.
I have lots of friends, Australian, have the accent Australian, and I like being with them more than being with Arabic. Sorry about that.
2 years into their new lives, Clara is now preparing to marry local fridge mechanic Andrew, who she met the first day she arrived.
I'm proud of them. I've seen the trip from day one till today, so I'm really happy with them. Yeah, they've done an amazing job.
Now you're stuck with one of them.
You can read the full statement from the Department of Social Services regarding Australia's humanitarian program on our homepage.